What'd you say? Huh? What'd you say? What do you mean? Is that friend of yours? What are you protesting? Let me see a permit. You don't need a permit? What do you mean? What's that? Against the war in Vietnam? Let me tell you something, son. You ever been in Vietnam? Well, I have, and I know what it's like. Oh, yeah? You know, huh? What are you, 2 years old? You've been in the Army? You've been in the Army, high school. What? What'd you say, young lady? Make love, not war? Listen, I make love very well. What do you know about love? What do you know about war? Well, I got a slut in the face, huh? You don't even wear a goddamn brassiere, you little slut, goddamn bitch. What? What'd you say? What are you gonna do about it? Listen, son, I happen to know that you don't have a permit here, so I'm gonna tell you, son. You did touch my bat? You touched my bat? Come on!
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum podcast. I'm Ryan from ColdSploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
We're doing pretty well. We are fresh off our last gay episode of the podcast, and I think we're moving a little bit towards July 4th and sort of the celebration of the America's 250th anniversary. And this episode is sort of related to that and kind of blends in with sort of that idea of American culture. But we are kind of here with like an offshoot episode or a one-off that we didn't really have a theme for. We're kind of getting back into that area of territory where we're just kind of like, hey, random movies that we want to cover and consider. So we're kind of into that and taking recommendations too. So like we always say, you can write to us at Blood and Black Rum Podcast and let us know what movies you want us to consider. I know we have a couple that are still kind of sitting somewhere there in the docket. I know Cemetery Man has been bandied about. Della Morte dell'Amore in Italian or whatever. But yeah, so we've got a couple on the docket, but if you want to write in and let us know of any others that you want to cover, now is the time because we're kind of within seasons of thematic stuff that we're doing. So, but anyway, yeah, we're back today, and I think we're tackling kind of an area that's been missing from the podcast. I don't know that we have done. Have we done a Robert De Niro movie? Can't remember.
No,
I don't think so. And nothing's coming. I mean, we haven't done anything like Meet the Fockers. So,
that would be wonderful.
So yeah, we haven't gotten some of his best works in here.
We're going to be doing a De Niro and Pacino month, and it's just going to be like, hey guys, we're going to do one of Al Pacino's finest roles in whatever the fuck that Adam Sandler movie was, where he was like Dunkachino.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying we need to get to their best work. I don't know about all this other stuff that they've done, in the past in their younger age, but most of the time, actors in their younger age, they haven't done their best work yet. We have to get towards Meet the Fockers and some of the other things that De Niro did in his later life to really hone in on his best works.
You're not dead yet. You're like about to
No, I said in his later life, but the man keeps ticking. So I love it. I love that he keeps ticking. I'm not saying anything disparaging about the man in his older years, of course. In the other gap that we're filling is I don't believe that we've ever done a Brian De Palma movie either.
We have not.
No, so it's another gap. Even something as simple as Carrie, which we would be in our immediate wheelhouse, we have not done yet. So,
how versed in De Palma are you?
I'm not very. I'm not super versed in it. So yeah,
I was going to say for such a prolific director, I've only seen
like a couple.
Carrie, obviously. I've seen The Untouchables a billion times. I've seen Scarface a billion times. I've unfortunately seen Mission Impossible, and I've seen Carlito's Way, I think.
Yeah, I've seen Raising Cain and a couple others, but yeah, not too much from De Palma. Yeah, so it's interesting that we are covering this movie in particular because it is one that I'll be honest with you, I had no idea existed until it came my way, and it came my way because I got it for review from Radiance Films, who has just recently released this movie on a 4K Blu-ray combo pack for its, 56 years now? 56th year anniversary of the film. So again, I had no idea that it existed, but for actual De Palma fans or people who are really widely versed in cinema, especially from the 1970s, they probably are aware of this movie from De Palma and Robert De Niro, and it is part of a couple of movies that the two of them worked on together. And this one is actually a sequel. The first film in this duology was called Greetings, and unfortunately, I've never seen it. I know Martin hasn't seen it either, and we've never done it for the show. So we're kind of messing around with our usual format of tackling the first film first, obviously. But either way, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think we're missing much context in the scheme of things. So we're doing the sequel first. But after watching it, I think we would be interested in doing the initial film too. So,
Speaking for me,
that's true. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't speak for you. I guess we'll get to that point later on, and you'll tell me if that's the case. But so the movie that we're talking about today, and we've kind of beat around the bush quite a bit, is called Hi Mom, with an exclamation mark, of course. You can't forget that. As part of the title.
It's not Hi Mom. It's Hi Mom.
Yeah. And, as Robert De Niro would say it, hi, Ma.
Ma.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, I assume that they, obviously did that on purpose, but, you got to give it the De Niroism to really get that across. But, yes, Hi, Mom from 1970. It is again, like we said, it is part of the duology of the Greetings and Hi, Mom duo, and Robert De Niro plays the same role in both. This guy named John Rubin, with some similar. What I've seen is some similarities in terms of the thematic elements, but Hi Mom really goes in a much more specific direction for this idea of voyeurism, social justice, and specifically tying into sort of the idea behind the Black Panthers movement and some of the ideas of like proliferation of home video, and the ability to film, when especially a lot of people at this time did not have wide access to video cameras. And it sort of was a time where people started getting more and more access to video cameras that they didn't have before, and, kind of filming their lifestyle and their life in general in society. So, really interesting ideas, sort of a movie that is not really widely talked about. I don't know, like you said, De Palma has a pretty prolific filmography, and this is not one that really often comes up, I feel like, when people are talking about De Palma cinema. I don't know if that's the case for you, where you've never really heard people mention this one in particular, but I've never heard it in like common discussion.
No, and I'm also, big admirer. I'm not a big, like, the films I've seen by De Palma. I won't say I'm a big fan of his work. The films I, said, like, they're all, pretty huge. So, De Niro, I love, big De Niro fan. But the man's been in like 1,000 things. So, and I could proudly say this wasn't something that was, on my radar.
Yeah.
And in fact, I had to ask you, I'm like, hey, what are we doing? And you're like, we're doing the Hi Mom, remember? And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, it totally, like, exited my mind when you're like, oh, yeah.
The name's not memorable. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
just like, when you said it, it's like, oh, okay. Like,
mm-hmm.
threw it in the pantheon of, in my mind, like, when it comes to, like, we're going to review this 1974 Italian Z movie that's a ripoff of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner
Yeah, right.
with zombies, and they got somebody that almost looks like Sidney Poitier to be in the film.
Yeah, I think again, like I said, this movie. Well, part of the thing too is like, interestingly enough, I think you said that it's on Tubi, right now.
According to when I Googled where to watch, it says Tubi. It's on YouTube for free.
Right. Which is kind of an
Which
interesting.
I don't know if it's under the YouTube banner, but somebody's got like a perfect. It looks like a good rip of it because it was like one of the first things that popped up. So,
which I think is interesting because again, probably some of those more popular De Palma films are just not going to, you're not going to see it on Tubi, right? Like it's not going to be available. But I think it's interesting because Tubi a lot of times does have some of the more some of the work that you really are interested in, whereas like some of these other streaming services, you go on there and like, crappy 2024 movie, crappy 20, and then you've got something like Tubi that's like really doing the work in terms of like archiving specific movies that you might actually want to watch.
Like I said, I don't know how good like the rip is on Tubi because I've watched films before on Tubi that we done that are lesser known, like when we did Saxon Salwin. Watching the bees on there, they didn't bother, trying to,
it was just the
better. So it's probably the same thing. But again, I applaud it because again, they're committed to the bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're gonna have exploited, the grungy exploitive films that people, that are niche. And if you're like you put it in that machine, it'll probably be on there. 8 out of the 12 months of the year.
That's right. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So yeah, I think you can go and check us on that, but I think Tubi has Hi Mom on there, unless it got pulled because Radiance was releasing it in the United States. I don't know. So, but anyway, yeah, it's gotten released widespread in 4K, and that's what we watched it on. So yeah, let's take a break really quick before we really dive into the movie. Talk about the beer that we have on the show today. I'll let you take it away. You're the one that picked it out. What'd you grab for us today?
Well, excuse me, Jesus. I don't know what's going on right now. It's summertime. And up here in upstate New York, that means that Saranac summer pack is out.
That's right.
And so even though every time we do a Saranac beer, we're always very sad now because the quality has tumbled into the ground. They actually had a summer pack that was interesting because there was only one returning beer in there and everything else was new.
Yeah.
Because usually they have the blueberry blonde in there, which I'm not a big fan of. But they had 3 new beers in there. One of them is a hazy peach IPA. Another one's pomegranate wheat ale. And what we're doing today, Wildberry ale. Now, when you look at the label, it says bountiful, beautiful bowl of blueberries and raspberries with a nice Adirondack lake and, nice Adirondack pine trees. And you're probably sitting to yourself, well, if they already have a blueberry blonde ale, why do this? And the answer is simple. How do you make that blueberry blonde that sucks better? You put raspberries in it.
You had another berry, another better berry.
Yeah, I love blueberries, but the taste of that blueberry, it just in the way that they make their ale, it's not the blueberry per se, it's the way it's all rounded out as a beer. And so with that being said, I do like this quite a bit. I think this is really refreshing. This, I think, would be much better served to be in a 6-pack or a 12-pack on its own. This is much more enjoyable. It's much more easygoing. The blueberry and the raspberry are paired very well together. You get both of them. They mix well. It's delightful. It's easy to drink. Crisp, refreshing. Like it a lot. Would have been cool if they, because I was expecting more than just, blueberry and raspberry. You'd expect, maybe blackberry to be there too. But it's not. Which is sad, but, small steps. And so, no, I'm very pleasantly surprised by this one. I've had all of them so far in the pack, and this is my favorite.
The best of the bunch. Yeah. Good to know. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I think that this is a refreshing beer. The Wildberry flavor is something that I think works really well. You know, I'm a fan of Wildberry in pretty much any kind of scenario. Pop-Tarts, you know, anything that says Wildberry, and the Wildberry element to that phrase is sort of like always means like raspberry, blueberry, blackberry. So I would agree with you in that. I do think blackberry is a missing component of what you're calling Wildberry. I don't know if that's an official moniker. Wildberry means all three berries, but to me, that's what it means. And so I do feel like it's a little bit missing, but I will say that I think together, the raspberry and the blueberry do work really well together. The beer does have a little bit of like bitterness on the aftertaste. That maybe I think could have been smoothed out, maybe just a tad. It might be just the ale quality of however Saranac is making this, but it does give a little bit of bitterness that I think they could have managed better. But other than that, I think this is a really refreshing fruit beer. I think it works really well. And like you said, I think it's a complete misstep to not have this in a 6-pack form or like a tall boy. And kind of really market this as a different summer type beer that they have, for their mainstay in the summertime, because I do think it is one of those beers that would really do very well in a more widespread option than just in a mixed pack. I think people would really flock to this more.
I could see a lot of people like shoebies that are coming from downstate and Jersey up here.
Yeah.
Enjoying a nice tall boy on their pontoons and nice boats. So.
Yeah. I do think like if this may be an experiment and they may find that it is a popular one, and maybe that like next year we'll be seeing Wildberry as more of a widespread release. But I do think that this is one of those types of beers that they should look at branching out for the summertime. I think it would be a success to do so instead of like. What is the main summer beer that they're putting in there now?
It's blueberry blonde.
That's just their that's just the standard.
It's been like the bog standard for like over a decade now.
Yeah, I think they need to branch out and do this Wildberry. I think it would be wildly popular, in my opinion. So, yeah, check it out. I don't know how widespread Saranac is getting now. I think it's definitely in the New York region. I think it gets a little bit further than upstate at this point. If
I had to guess, it might be probably just like New York, probably parts of New England, parts of like northern Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's around and you see it, give it a shot. Give it a try.
Yeah. Definitely worth it. All right, so let's talk Hi Mom.
Hi Mom.
Hi Mom.
In my head, that's all I can think of. It's like Andy Richter saying it.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
You know what? I also would like to say shout out to my mom. Hi, Mom. She's listening from heaven and on the airwaves, God's airwaves up there. Hi, Mom.
Wow. Way to be
Well, I'm not being a Debbie Downer. I'm being a believer. No. But I am saying hi, Mom. And I think I like that. I like that idea. This movie is a really interesting De Palma movie in a lot of ways. But I think one of the biggest things that we should point out, like right off the bat, is this movie, if you try to watch this movie as sort of like a traditional narrative style, for a little while, it kind of melds to that idea. But at about like maybe a third of the way through, or maybe even more towards halfway through, I didn't really clock it. It starts to take on a more of like a sort of a vignette style. Would you say? Would you agree?
Yes, and I think it is to the film's detriment.
I would agree with you as well. I'll go that far to say. Yep.
I'm not saying it's bad, but I think it is one of the weaker parts of the film because it goes from having like a traditional narrative and it's going, and then it kind of just spirals into the documentary and just like going until kind of like dotting it at the end. And I think your mileage is going to vary on like how much you can enjoy that disjointedness.
Mm-hmm. And historically, I think,
as I say, especially because that whole part with, as we'll talk about the documentary, is like a good 20 minutes. Like it's a good chunk of this film. So it just kind of woo, and you do get the little things of like John's doing this, John's planning this, so like it does give more of a vignette, like dinner theater quality to it, but it is, I would say, like a weaker point of the film because it makes the whole overall narrative structure this unnecessary Tarantino-esque,
Yeah. And again, too, like you mentioned, like those placards that come up, the text that says like John is plotting out to the second, his encounter with, I think like those don't even come into play until later on in the film either. So it's not like we start off with this sort of thing like John, seeks advice from a erotic production, filmmaker. We don't get that from the beginning. So I would agree with you. I think that historically, from what I've seen, that is the criticism specifically of Hi Mom, is that some people do really enjoy the sort of vignette style that it adopts towards the, the middle portion of the movie. And some people really dislike the disjointed nature of the movie. And I will agree with that. I think, as we start off talking and we're kind of really jumping into like the nitty gritty of it, I will agree that I do find the film and the narrative, pretty messy and disjointed quite a bit. And the structure of it, I think, is probably going to be the most difficult part of the movie for most viewers. Again, the movie is going to either appeal to you from a socio-political spectrum or it's not going to. So I think from that regard, like you kind of have to get through that piece of it too. But from an actual narrative arc or perspective, I do think that this will be off-putting to some people who do not jive with the narrative disjointedness of how De Palma structures the movie, especially towards like the end of the movie, where it's very much slipping away from a narrative style into more of almost like a vignette, or even to the film's theme, play-like in certain ways or skit-like. I think it's intentional, but I do think that it is probably going to be a really divisive way to watch the movie. Like you're either going to like it or you're not.
The like improv feel to the narrative makes it like by the end like an LSD trip of like falling down the rabbit hole. And again, it's not like an awful thing that's like makes it. I think it's just to the film's detriment that they don't start with that. Like if you started off the film like when in the beginning of him talking to like the super and like John's looking, our protagonist is looking for a new apartment. It would, because it just kind of like doesn't add to like the humor.
Yeah,
it doesn't add to like the comedy of it. It just makes it seem a little unnecessary. Which again, the film is intentionally like a beautiful mess. It's shot well, looks great, and it's intentionally messy. But I think it just it's just something I didn't fully get behind on that part.
I think too, as we start out at the beginning of the movie, and you kind of get this really hilarious montage of them, Robert De Niro's character, John Rubin, he's trying to move into this apartment complex, which is basically just a large set of, slummy kinds of apartments in an area of New York City.
Hold on. This was... When did this come out?
1970. It was the year that it was released. I believe that at copyright 69.
Didn't come out on Tuesday after the socialist won New York.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Turned the city into a hellhole.
Hellhole, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
I was expecting in the beginning, like when we see, New York, for it to say like underneath, like Mamdani's.
Yes. Or even, it should be like, well, we're not there yet, but like Bronson's New York, because it's another good one. I think like that whole first bit is really funny, and it kind of cements this really sort of we've talked about this on the show before because sort of these types of movies that are set in New York City and this sort of griminess is really up our alley. Like we love this kind of thing. I love the very distinctive griminess of New York's, late 60s, early 70s, New York City, the aesthetic that it puts off. And we've talked about this, I think, at length, but this film has it too. Like if we were to,
you're jumping right in, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like again, like with the whole, it's not just he's at this grimy apartment. He's looking for the super in a pile of trash, basically, and he's fucking got like a fucking drink and a smoke and his wife beater on, and he's like sifting through garbage. And De Niro's like, "Hey, I'm here for the apartment," and the guy's like, "What do you want? What do you want?" So it's like. I'm surprised they shot that during a bright sunny day. I didn't know the sun, shone in New York in the 70s. Like that, I was under the impression it took until, Giuliani took over the city for
the haze
like
to go away. Yeah. Yeah, I think like they open up the freezer or whatever, and there's cat shit in it, and they're like, "What is that? What is that?"
It wasn't a freezer. It was that part. It's your sink and your bath.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, the sink and yeah.
He opens up and there's a fucking litter, which is funny too, because if you've ever smelled cat shit before, you would know it smells like shit. So
yeah.
Somebody would have been able to,
Well, apparently it maybe smells so bad in there that you can't really determine the source of the terrible smell that's coming off. It's great though. Like again, I love this like sort of griminess. It really sits very well in this movie. It's something that you can't really replicate again. Like you couldn't go out and say I want to really just capture the same aesthetic that a movie like this has. So you really
going through when they're going through the door and the fucking thing's coming up and the super's like, "Oh, you're gonna have to fix it."
And the one thing I love about this too is it's really funny is that like there's a part later on in the movie that is actually kind of distinctive for the ideas of the movie about this culture of being able to have a video camera for yourself and kind of shoot your own movie and in sort of invite the audience into your life as a social person. And in this moment, there's a lady who this is kind of like a vignette, right? Too, because this lady is not really like part of the whole narrative, but it's sort of this where De Palma kind of shifts away from the narrative approach for a little while and kind of focuses on another woman. And she lives in the apartment complex that in the movie John Rubin is shooting. He's trying to be like a voyeur and seeing into all of these people's lives in the apartment complex that's across from him. And she's shooting a home video and she's like, "Look, here's the condominiums that I live in. Look how nice it looks. Like, I love it. It's got a beautiful exterior." And then she points the camera at the one that Robert De Niro's living in. And she's like, this one is much uglier than the one that I have. And they look exactly the same. And like, it looks like fucking like literally the same two buildings like together. I love that moment because it's just hilarious the way that it is like the perspective shifts of like, this is a person who lives there and obviously is like, they like their home. And then from an audience perspective, we're looking at it and we're like, I don't see the fucking difference. It's like that Office meme where it's they're the same two things. Like, I thought that was really funny.
I love the fact that, again, he's doing this voyeur photo, filmography by like sticking his whole fucking body out the window, which says a lot of things about this, New York in the 70s. Some asshole with like, fucking camera on a tripod filming from like the 12th story window. No one bats an eye. No one cares, Just like,
with like a red bulb above it too.
Yeah,
he's got it's like a flashing red bulb that he's got behind him sometimes.
Fred. Yeah, it's Fred back there. Yeah, he likes to do that. He thinks we're not watching, but we all know.
Yeah, there's sort of like this hyper realism of him being able to shoot this, and like again too the way that he's shooting it is sort of like a Brady Bunch style like block of or like how they would shoot like Bye Bye Birdie, where like there's the sort of play like where there's an exterior of a house and he's seeing all of the exteriors in the camera. It's kind of done for laughs too. It's like De Palma kind of taking the piss out of it a little bit by shooting it in a way that's like, obviously there's no windows. It's like a completely open sound stage almost. And, I like that kind of perspective is really funny. But it also hints at this idea of voyeurism and the way that, society can, with the proliferation of video cameras specifically and photography in this era, the idea of voyeurism and social construction of that is really a big theme in Hi Mom, like of the ability to film these things and invite the audience in, or invite people who would be watching these types of things into your life, which I think is really kind of an interesting and complex topic within the movie. And I think you mentioned this a little bit, but it is slightly detrimental that the film has a little bit of what a lot of viewers would probably consider a lack of focus from De Palma, where it does jump around quite a bit in this sort of vignette style that sort of, again, like I said, it kind of lacks that narrative focus to help it really cement the themes that it's talking about, because it is talking about some pretty complex elements about voyeurism and about the Black Panther movement that's occurring at the same time, and sort of this idea of being able to film put on film the social impact of those changes that are happening, at this time period. And I think that the way that it kind of feels disjointed takes away from that theme a little bit. You almost start to question, like, well, what is De Palma's point in showing some of these things back to back like that? I don't know if you felt the same way. I do find that the structure sort of inhibits some of the ideas that De Palma is trying to get across in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, because again, so a lot of it's it's meant to be for laughs, and some of it is supposed to be political commentary. But again, the time is like, it's not, the film's not even just voyeurism and Black Power movement. It's sexual liberation. It's feminism. It's Vietnam. It's like all of this stuff is like happening at the time, and we're getting to see like certain jokes and perspectives on all of it. But again, the whole disjointedness of it, like, kind of makes like what are you supposed to take from it? Like the whole voyeurism thing. Like I personally, I wouldn't have like a comment on it like that, because I never understood it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like that. It's something that's never appealed to me. Not just like in a sexual way, but the whole like, I like just want like to look at people and like see what they're doing, secretly. Like, it's just my autism doesn't let me like find like the nuance and joy in that, like, because it's like I'm loud and I'd rather be upfront with people.
I mean, I do think that it brings up like an interesting approach, because you talked about that. You talked about a little bit about the feminism. And the proliferation of sort of like sexual mores at this time. And the film does bring that up quite a bit. And I think part of that, it does come back to the erotic movies that John Rubin in this movie, Robert De Niro's character, is trying to create. He has this idea for voyeurism that he feels like is an untapped potential for, the XXX cinema. And his idea is, he's going to go over and seduce a woman that lives in the apartment complex across from him, so that he can ultimately shoot the sex video that they're going to be making as sort of like a, it's an spontaneous voyeurism, except he's enforced it basically.
Yes. But I mean, again, like on like that part, like I understand, because again, but like, and it is funny. I don't know if this is how they were viewing it at the times. My family's a bunch of prudes. If I say pussy to my mother, she, just language. But like the whole like idea, it, like, at least to me, I don't know if it is to you, especially in like a lot of these films at the time, because there's a lot of films that we've covered from the 70s and stuff, where there are people like, going to these, theaters that are built for porn. And it's like, and you get to see, the sexual revolution, basically, and people being more, not promiscuous, but more open, but at the same time, it's closed because you got the theater, the shops that are considered seedy, and then again all the sex that's going on is through the voyeuristic perspective of him watching these people doing the act in their windows,
right,
and then people acting prudish. So
and you're kind of questioning too. I mean, John Rubin as a character, he's like a pretty shady character as a whole, right? Like, he's our protagonist, but he's also a kind of a window into this seedier lifestyle of taking advantage of people by effectively lying to them. Like his whole idea behind courting this woman that's across from him is just basically to what do I want to say, to basically seduce her without her knowing about this voyeurism. And so I think that you start to question Robert De Niro as a character and who he is. And I think that leads to a more interesting dynamic later on in the film as it shifts into this idea that he's joined this sort of Black Panther-esque group of people who are trying for, this social cause, this, this social justice of, this Be Black movement that they're doing. And it makes you question, he constantly gets roped into this. And you have this idea of this guy who had no real moralistic integrity at the beginning of the movie, and then sort of morphs into this man who takes on this sort of guerrilla tactic of inveigling himself into this idea that he can be the white person who is like sort of, he's listening at the end of the film, he's listening to the soundtrack for Writing Checks To, which is fucking hilarious. Like, I love that little aside that they throw in on the radio, but like he's the in for the black person to use as a sort of this scapegoat for the Black Power movement.
It's funny. I saw it before going on that. I do want to say too, the funny part about the whole seduction thing is, and it just kind of goes back to my point of being more open, but at the same time, keep the idea, because they may even mention it in it, the whole silent majority part of yeah, fine, if you want to have sex, whatever, but don't fucking make a big to do and shove it in my face. And I feel like that's why it at least feels like why he's being so fucking like a dingleberry trying to seduce Judy, because she's down, she's ready to go. She's he doesn't need to be doing all this ham-fisted seduction, oh, we had a date and we're both tired, we'll have to wait to do this, and she's like, no, I want to do it now, and he's like, oh god, being prudish.
Well, so, yeah, and I think that that's another funny bit to the film's dark humor too, is the fact that after he gets this all set up and she's basically foaming at the mouth at one point when he comes over and he's like, what's for breakfast? I really need a breakfast. I need a 4-minute egg.
Get a 4-minute egg.
And she's like, let's go now. I'm breakfast, and he has to
if she was smart, she should have just said I'm your 4-minute egg.
That's right. Yeah. But when he goes to the pharmacy in a fucking great scene, it's great. He has no idea about protection or condoms or anything. He's completely aloof about what sexual, what things he has to do for this protection.
I need a protection or a prophylactic. Well, which one do you want?
Yeah, they're different ones. The pharmacist man who plays that is probably just some random guy. I don't even know,
Ron Howard's brother.
Ron Howard's brother. Yeah, Clint Howard.
He looked
he does, yeah.
He kind of looked
Clint Howard would have probably been 14 years old at this point, but
well, he always looked like that, poor man,
But I feel like this is probably just
pink vibrator.
I know it's probably just some random guy that literally may have been a pharmacist. But the effort that he puts into educating Robert De Niro's character of here's a condom and this is what you do, and pulling it out and saying here, look how stretchy it is, and
do you want lubricated or not lubricated? What's the difference?
Yeah, it's hilarious. But
Situation, and he pulls it out, and he's that's where on this re-release that I was watching, I wish they had underneath it when South Park was doing the whole you know, Bono is the biggest piece of shit in the world, and like they had flashing under it, like, you know, Oscar-winning TV show. I wish they had that for the same thing for like Robert De Niro here. He's like
that's right.
pulling on to condom, like, you know, one of the greatest thespians of our times. Fucking pulling on a condom, and like the same thing too. Like, oh, I got this nice little vibrator from Copenhagen.
Yeah.
All sorts of massage. You put it on, he's rubbing it on.
Yeah, he says like massaging for those hard to reach places and stuff. It's great. It's a great scene, but I think it also is really interesting to see like this is a guy who set out and his sole purpose and what he really saw a producer out for was to shoot erotic movies. And then here he is being a clueless guy about like entirely about sex. It's great. It's a nice little dichotomy for the character. It's excellent.
See, that's the thing too. We know this film's not realistic because when he asks her Judy about protection, she said, "I don't fucking care." And he's like,
right? Yeah, she said,
go.
"Wow."
Like you know.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I'm not.
He
I
said,
don't
like,
care."
I gotta go. Like, you know.
I mean, good for him though. Yeah, you know what? You don't
have
want
a lot of men that would say that.
That's right. You don't want a little baby running around. I mean, come on. And then not only that, she is a woman child. So you know. Well, it's just funny because she tells that whole story about after Porgy and Bess. Like she's like, "Oh my god, that movie just like brought so much out in me. Like I just could relate to her as a child woman."
How could you even pay attention to that conversation when they were eating giant pink like
sausages and sauerkraut and all that?
Like I don't even know like what that's supposed to be. Like a Frank's Red Hot, like hot dog. Like I was just enamored. It was huge and it's just like
nice little Polish sausage there.
What a date though. They go and get that. Like one, I was amazed too because the popcorn size thing she had, who's that for? I know it's 1970, but still like that was just like 3 pecks and it's gone.
You got it done before the movie. They went to a double feature. She's got it done before the movie starts. The first one.
Yeah, it's like two little cribs and your popcorn's gone. But besides what they have giant fucking kielbasa or whatever the fuck it is. They again get ice cream at like that place that's, and you can tell it's like from an older period because they had a giant poster for rum raisin. Nobody in 2026 is asking for rum raisin. Unless they were around when FDR. And then they go and get a pizza. Fucking pizza.
No, yeah, that's great. It's great.
like I just don't get it.
And they don't show De Niro really eating much at all, and she's chowing down. She's got ice cream. She's eating the whole 9 yards. Yeah. I do. It's hilarious. I like, again, the film is really comically funny a lot of the time. The point really is to be quite funny, and it works really well. I think that, again, some of the complaints for this movie is that it is slow moving, but I don't really see that. I didn't really find, and this movie is only like 86 minutes long. It's not even that long. I didn't really find Hi Mom to be slow moving. I felt that it was effectively paced, and that part of the reason for that is because it is extremely funny. It is like, if you enjoy the dark comedy element to it that it brings, and this sort of like black humor or sort of sarcastic humor that it's bringing, then I don't really find the movie too slow. And anyway, anytime Robert De Niro is on screen, I mean, it's just like a gem. He does a great job. There's a number of scenes where he's just really effective, and it almost seems like improv to me, in some capacity. I'm not sure if there were ideas written for scenes, and then, they kind of expounded upon them in an improvisational tone. But a lot of times it does really feel like that. There's that whole scene where De Niro's trying out to be a cop in the Be Black theater production. And he's in his apartment complex, and he's smacking everything around with like a fucking police baton. And he's got like a mop, like a mop that's supposed to be a mop and a ladder that's supposed to be people he's interrogating, and he's like, "You're not even wearing a brassiere, you slut!" And it's just fucking hilarious. Like the part where De Niro gets himself so worked up, or like at least fake worked up, that he punches a pizza. It's I mean, you can't, these are things that, like, I'm surprised aren't memes. Like De Niro punching a pizza. That should be a meme. I don't know why it's not.
What are you protesting? The war? I've been to war. You want love? I make love. I do it well, you know. You touched my bat.
That's
That part is so great. It's like, you touched my bat. He starts fucking hitting.
that's like part of the thing that I was saying is like it should be improv. Like seems like it's improv because he like accidentally hits the ladder with it, and then he pulls that out. He's like, you touched my bat. I think that the film is super funny, and I feel like it's underappreciated funny. Like if people saw this movie, I do feel like they would find it much funnier than like we've been led to believe.
It's like a Wes Anderson style, where it's gonna hit if like I mean, it's more pronounced, like the humor.
Yeah,
like, you know, it's not as like subtle and as dry, but it's either gonna. I think I agree because we have the same like humor taste. With that being said, I think it's going to be, you're either going to, if there's no in between, you're either going to find it to be laugh out loud hilarious, or you're going to be sitting there like, I don't fucking get it. And I don't think there's not going to be there's a middle ground. I don't think you're just going to be like, like, you know, have a snicker.
I just don't, I don't understand people who don't find pizza abuse funny. It's fucking hilarious.
The place too where they're eating, I was telling Ryan before we got on, I'm like, I was hoping so bad it was Sbarro. Because it looks like it could have been shot at a fucking Sbarro.
Yeah.
Sbarro too. And you know, it was nice too when he's giving that story, she's sitting there just mowing down on her slice, like, you know, like, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. The guy who plays the porn producer too is great. I think it's Alan Garfield, I think is his name. Just the montage of scenes that he's in where he's kind of giving De Niro the ropes of like, here's the porn industry. Like, you know, that people go to the theaters and like, you don't want to know what goes on in that men's bathroom. Like, stay out of there. And like,
we need to bring back porn theaters. I think we used to be better as a society when we could all enjoy, you know, it together.
You know, and I agree with that. I think
you got to sit there, you know, with your chub on, look at your friend, and be like, "That got you too." Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think that Paul Rubens was unfairly maligned for, getting his jollies privately in a theater. I mean, who are we to judge about that? You know.
Oh, it's also funny too. It's like he is caught masturbating at watching a porno, and it's like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that we should bring him back. I think we should, it should be a standard approach to that sort of thing.
Open up like theaters world around across the country.
That's right. We haven't really touched on like one of the big components of the movie, which is the, this sort of, Black Panther-esque movement that's going on, that is sort of transitioned into the movie a little bit later on, because it's part of one of the voyeuristic people that he's viewing is embroiled in this sort of like this movement.
Well, he's the one that's putting the show on.
Yeah.
And the best part is, I'm gonna give this film a lot of credit here. Male dong. We need that.
That's true.
We need to show more man cock.
I did think it was funny too, because he's like, the way they showed him, he's painting himself black because he's the idea of the play is the Be Black theater, and it's sort of like a drawing a white audience in to say like, what would it be like if you were black? And he's painting himself black, and he gets to his dick, which is the only thing that's not painted black, and he's like, I guess I gotta do it. They kind of show him doing that.
That's when like De Niro's filming too, and that gets caught. That's what gets him kicked out from being a porn man, because the guy was like, Joe Banner's like, you're sick, like, which is funny too, because it's like, well, if you want to do hardcore pornography, like, are you just doing softcore? Like, you're gonna have to see some mighty fine cock, like. Right, and as the Ron White joke goes of like, when the guy, he was talking about a guy who's like, I hate gay people, I will never lack a dick or whatever, and he's like, do you watch only lesbian porn? And he goes, no, I watch regular porn. He goes, well, like, how's the guy's dick? Is it limp? And he's like, no, it's a hard thing, hard cock fucking her. And it's like, well, yeah, that's, there you go. That's the point. Like, so it's just, that was really funny. I mean, granted, the man's dick wasn't hard, but I did find it funny because, as I'm, 15 years late, I've been watching Game of Thrones and there's a lot of titty and pussy in it. But at the same time, there is every now and then a man's cock there, and I'm here for it because we don't realize that.
There you go.
Just because I don't understand why.
Yeah.
In society, we just don't let,
That's right.
Dong hang out.
Nice, De Palma. Thanks for the dong. And I think, too, the one of the really funny things you mentioned is, like, yeah, he loses his job. Like, because the producer gave him $2,000 and like, here, give me some good voyeuristic porn. And when he doesn't come up with it and he gets that shot of the guy's dick instead with the Be Black movement, he loses his job, and he goes, and the film says John trades his camera in for a TV, which is sort of like this idea of like, oh, he was a filmmaker. Now he's just a film, he just takes it in instead. Like he can't make films anymore. So he has to just consume them instead, which I think is like, kind of an interesting dynamic that this movie brings up a couple times where it says like, you're not just as a viewer, as an audience member, you are not just an audience, but you're also partaking in sort of this idea, and that kind of works towards voyeurism as well. Like you are part of the voyeurism of watching this, and you are part of the theater performance by watching it. And so I think that's, kind of a really interesting symbolism of him trading in his camera for a TV there, which I just want to...
Which is great too. Nice, got a handle on it.
Oh yeah, just you can carry that home. You can just fucking... Yeah, whip it around and carry it and plug it in somewhere, and you got a TV.
Gen Z and younger, you kids will never understand. You never had to live with a CRT TV.
That's right.
You didn't want a big TV. The bigger it was, the heavier that fucking thing was.
That's why people...
You need to be thankful. You can get a 70-inch TV for like $200, and it weighs 3 pounds.
That's why people were more fit and muscular back then, sure, because they were carrying around boom boxes and a fucking CRT TV everywhere.
Well, it's funny, too, because I was thinking about, we didn't talk about it, but the cameras here are very small for, like, what they're using to shoot.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your dad had one, like, but we had a camcorder. Well, my family took, we had, shit of us in the, early 90s and 80s. That thing weighed like 50 pounds.
Well, yeah, because the camcorders at that time, you had like
you had the actual
VHS tape, yeah,
and the mic and an actual mic attached to it and everything, and like boom.
Right in the 90s, the film cameras, they were not like the ones that you see in this movie where they were nice and compact and like you had film that was just within the camera. It was a whole 9 yards, and yeah, I think it's funny how. In the 90s, like, it was more unwieldy to be shooting video camera than even in the 70s. Yeah.
70s.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, what do you think about the whole this Be Black movement that they're doing and the idea of like these like I said, it's sort of like this black movement of people who are out on the streets sort of trying to get people to understand the black situation and trying to understand what it's like to live as a black person in America. What do you think about this idea?
So this is where I like you calling it Black Panther shit. That's why I keep not saying that, because Black Panthers would not be bothered with this shit. They had better things to do than put honky and black makeup and make them feel bad. They're, feeding kids and other things. But besides the point, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure the reason why De Palma did this is probably because, there are things like this going on. Leading into that, we see, the whole them going around and asking, like, a bunch of white people, like, be a part of our thing. Why won't you be a part of the thing? And they're like, I don't want to. I don't want to learn how to be black, be black. And then when they get to like the liberals, and they're like, we donate to like the NAACP. We know we've marched. We understand. They both suck, because like one, like especially like the liberals, because they're like the Nancy Pelosi and them during, George Floyd wearing kente cloth. Like, yeah, he's dead. Are we going to do anything? No, but look, we're in kente cloth. Solidarity.
Well, and not even that, but like in the one interview where they're arguing about whether the white people really understand, these liberal older white people who said they're in marches, they really understand. Yeah. And in the background, there's a guy like murdering a newspaper seller and getting away with it. And they're like not even concerned with it.
Well, that's New York City in the 70s. That's fine. Yeah.
It's just hilarious because it's like these white people would rather argue with a black person about whether they understand black people than like worry about what's actually going on. So,
but also too, no, that part had me cracking up. I mean, like again, like the idea, I think, is just too performative. Nobody, like, unless you're like the liberalist, like shit lib. I think Neera Tanden and Ezra Klein are like, good voices on like what democracy should look like. Would like go through that, like be like, yeah, I'll go through this, and then like I understand. Well, even if you do that, you know what? You're not gonna understand because you know what? You're not black.
Well, do you think that's part of the?
You can empathize with the experience, but it's performative. It's something that like it's funny because it's like, we're going to make you do this. And then like by the end, like, I loved it. It was great. We've learned a lot and understand. And it's like, no, I mean, that's the funny part. Yeah. Which I'm assuming is what he's getting at with it, especially with it being as big as it is. But at the same time, I think like if somebody today were like to like come up and like, we're going to do this to show you, like, no, like you're a fucking idiot. That's not the, it's performative. You're not like doing anything like that's not revolutionary.
I do think that's part of the point of it.
No, I know, I agree, but I'm saying like, I don't like, I just, yelling at the people that are taking part in it, not De Palma himself, because I don't think De Palma is saying like this whole experience that he's shooting is a good thing. Because like, again, it's just like something like I said, I have a hard time like thinking about like this being something that people thought this would be a good idea to experience. But I mean, it's only been, 5 years since the Civil Rights Act got passed. So I can see how maybe at the time there probably were like things like this going on, but I don't think it would have gotten anyone but the shittiest lib white people to, yeah, I understand now.
I mean, I do think it is great that like the whole sequence that they go through, which is almost reminds me of like these, the current memes of like, it's a white person haunted house. It kind of reminded me of that sort of like idea of like, what would be the worst experience for a white person in a haunted house. And like, this is one of it where it goes really, it's really interesting that it goes so far, right? Like, so they start stripping the woman like they're going to rape her. And, at the end of the film, she's sort of like, wow, that was an experience. It was like, it's almost, I do think that there is some muddled element to the theme where I'm not exactly sure what De Palma meant by is depicting that so far. But I would say that I love it. And I think that they did a really good job of performing it. I think that it is an effective moment in the movie. I'm just not quite sure what exactly De Palma meant by it. I don't think that comes across entirely. Like I think what he's saying is he's not necessarily critical of the black movement at this time. No, I think what he's saying is he's critical of how it can be co-opted, or how it can, especially how it can appear to an audience, and how that may not be receptive, depending on how it's performed.
Well, again, it's obviously being I would agree with that, because again, it's obviously being co-opted because the whole thing of it being like a performance, the whole like, again, like these rich to do, white people being like, you're going to learn the black experience. You're going to eat collard greens. I would be there like, give me, hell yeah, let's go. Collard greens, I love collard greens, I love black. Which is funny, too, that they start off with that, because I would agree that one thing that connects like this good way for people to connect with other people's cultures is food. Like, if you're like, I hate Hispanic people, go and like you try like, authentic like Mexican for the first time, or soul, like again with this like soul food, and you're gonna be like, wow, I was just eating SpaghettiOs before, and now I can learn more. That was really good,
Right.
So I agree, like that part, but again, like my problem with the part is more the actual inner workings of what's happening, not what he's doing or saying. It's just, I was just sitting there like again, the comparison I would make would be like how to understand a woman's pain. You give him give the man the suit that makes him feel like they're giving birth.
Right.
And it's like,
yeah.
oh.
Right. And I do think to some extent that is the point too, like you were saying, of the audience not being able to be receptive enough to that. We're seeing it, and and again, it is sort of like, I think towards the end of the movie, that's kind of De Niro's part in this, is that he gets roped into this sort of guerrilla tactic of being he's watching this and sort of emotionally invested in it from the TV. And so the end game for him is to plant dynamite in the complex and blow it all up.
He could totally go from that, and he's like, I'm going to watch the spook who sat by the door next, and we're off to the races.
Right, exactly. And it's sort of like, I feel like it, again, the idea too here, it does to some extent inevitably tie back to Vietnam. The violence that everyone in this generation experienced is sort of like, presented to us again as an audience on screen. Like, everybody's taking this in on screen as an audience member, seeing the violence firsthand, because the end of this black movement, of the Be Black movement that they're doing, results in them storming a complex with guns drawn and then getting absolutely blown away by everybody else who had guns. Like, there's a really it's not
the little white family with the
right
gun.
Exactly. The white family with the kids are around, and this older man, the balding man with the
Which those kids are the kids that I was messaging you that were in Pat Garrett, those fucking perfect bowl cuts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is a tragically funny scene, and it's it's sort of like, De Niro is watching this from the TV and like, what? Wow, they got blown away. It's an interesting premise, and I think, again, it's very complex what De Palma is presenting, and I think part of the issue that people took with it is that it was a little bit too opaque as to what he really was trying to say with that. I agree to some extent. I think that ultimately the idea behind this is that, the idea behind the film title too, Hi Mom, is the fact that, like, listen, the proliferation of video cameras is making you public, is making, people can see what you're doing. The potential that this gets back to your mother is high, and
which is like one of the things when they're in the nudie theater watching the video,
right?
It's like, she's somebody's, daughter, like,
yeah, exactly.
She's got to say hi, mom, like, and
it's again, it's a complex matter of I think, again, the idea that the privateness of home life has seeped into the publicness of voyeurism of the proliferation of home video. It's sort of, now you've got this kind of this issue with privacy. And
not only that though, sorry to cut you off, but the whole ending where after he bombs and they're interviewing people about it, and the guy's like, I lost my fucking credit cards in there, like, I'm really bummed out.
Yes, yeah.
And the other one was like, I'm glad the building's knocked down. We need place for my dog to walk. And then De Niro comes on and he's like, I just got back from Vietnam.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah, this whole idea.
I was actually a demolitions expert. There's fucking people, like, we're on TV. He's like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Anyway, just like,
that is true too. Yeah, I forgot to bring that up, but yeah, that's right. For one thing, you're right. The credit card guy, that's fucking hilarious. I was laughing about that too, where he's just like, man, my cards were in there. It's like, something really minor. And then, but I think
we look like we're going to interview people who were either new people that lives in that building, or but people are have died.
Yeah, right.
And like just the fact that the guy's like,
right, and
fucking wallet.
I think too, that kind of comes back to as De Niro comes in and he's like, yeah, I was in Vietnam and stuff. It kind of brings that back again to like this idea, like the proliferation of violence after Vietnam and what people got used to, and the differences in experience between people. I think is it's really like a very short period of time in that movie where it's just a very quick little thing, but it's a really interesting dynamic that it has there.
It is, and it's hilarious, but at the same time too, I don't know if he meant it this way, but I mean, again, it's funny, but like at the same time, like the whole this building just blew up and there's like 1,000 people dead or whatever, and he's like, I know real violence. I was in Nam. Were you in Nam or Korea, sir? You wouldn't fucking know what real violence is, and it's like everything's a dick measuring. Like everyone's got to be
right,
self-centered and not regardless of whether or not you were in Vietnam or here when the bomb blew up and killed people. It's like violence is violence. It's not a competition of oppression Olympics, basically, of who suffered more.
I thought it was interesting too that and I don't know that this was intentional or not, but one of the things that the reporter really draws attention to is the fact that De Niro keeps dropping curses, and like it's not that the fact that there was like this terrible violence that occurred that is really the thing that turns people off. It's the cursing that he's doing. Is this censorship that they need to apply to the news broadcast is what's really the reason why they stopped recording. So I mean, again, like we've been talking about, there's a lot of ideas at play here in the film. Again, I do
should have been 2-hour film for all the things it was.
Well, right. Again, I do think it's a little bit messy in the fact that like I don't know that De Palma's themes are really well developed in a way that they all come across at the same the same measure. I think that it is a little bit too disjointed to really say one way or the other, like this is the overarching idea behind this movie. He kind of has so many ideas at play that they're almost crossing each other in ways that take away from the theme. But at the same time, I think that the movie is really clever and really interesting to think about. And I really enjoyed it for what it was, regardless of the fact that I do think it is a little bit messy, in the way that he's developed it all.
One thing we didn't talk about, that lady's areolas that he was like viewing in on.
The ladies area. Which one?
The one that the guy was like starting to paint.
The black. Paint black, yeah. You like those areolas? He's really getting in there.
That. It's just a connection with the pizza.
That's true. Pizza areolas, yeah. Little pepperonis. We also did not talk about the original soundtrack, which is an important part of Hi Mom. It's one of those soundtracks where, from the 70s where it is literally narrating what's happening on screen.
We need more films to do original. I don't need to see fucking like a Thor film with a Kinks song in it. Like as much as
right.
And I've given out about this before, but as much as like I love the Kinks, I don't need to hear supersonic rocket ship during like a stupid little segue or
like a slowed down version of it that's performed by someone else. Is like made it like dramatic and theatrical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to go back to original music. That's how Earth, Wind, and Fire got their big break with Sweet Sweetback. Same thing here. It's great because it also reminded me of like and you'll know the reference. 73, Green Jacket, Lupin. Like just the whole like he's a nice man.
Yeah.
It's going on. Little harmonica.
I do love it because I feel like the way that they were composed was like the people, De Palma brought it to Eric Kaz, who did the music, or John Andrioli wrote the lyrics. They brought it to them and they were like, we need a score. We need a soundtrack for this. here's the scene. We want you to put the soundtrack on. And then they just watched the scene and they literally just, wrote lyrics to what was happening in the montage and they went from there. And
guys walking down the street.
exactly. Yeah.
He's getting a taco from the tornado shop. He gets his ranch sauce. No, wait, he switches for ketchup. We need more of that.
I know.
Same thing, too. We talked about it before. Trailers. We need to bring back the 4-minute trailer that literally, hey, no theater open anymore because it's a dying art. Don't worry. Got a 4-minute trailer that's going to tell you everything.
Yeah, you can watch the short version of the movie here. Yeah. No, we definitely need more of the soundtracks like Hi Mom. And again, I think to some extent it is sort of like a parody of that idea, because it's almost like so on the nose that it's like, I think they were making fun of this a little bit, but at the same time, it works. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of in that same humor realm that the film has. Yeah.
Well, as you said, it jives.
It's great.
Can you imagine if in the 2015 or whatever the hell Suspiria of Tom Bjork, instead of just yodeling, was like, hey, she's dancing now. Would be great.
I know.
Just came to my mind.
Yeah, they really should have. They should have done that.
We'll have to do one of these days because we bring this up a billion times when we cover films from the 70s. Like we talked about with Shaft and Smokey the Bandit. We're gonna have to do a top 10 song from a movie that spells out what's going on in that movie. It'll be a list that's only Tim Heidecker would probably look at.
That's right.
The one person.
That's right. All right. So we got to rate Hi Mom. So on a scale.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
De Niro looking very hot in this film.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Do you like him gussied up with his hair slicked back and all that? Did you like him more rough and tumbled?
I have to say that I really...
Because for me, he looks a lot better rough and tumbled.
Yeah, I would say that I really enjoyed the
geek look.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his look. And I think I like this look in general, but this very classic look of him being in the flannel with the knit hat on and I like that look a lot. I think he looks good too as the sort of classy again, the man hasn't changed much throughout the years. He really looks very similar even in his older years to what he looked like when he was younger, but I think, again, he does pull off both personas very well. I think especially in this movie you really see it great. Because even when he goes into audition and they're like, you want to be a pig, huh? And you're like, you don't look like a pig. You look like a pretty humble guy.
Which is funny because his Vietnam jacket he's wearing, I was totally thinking motherfucker looks like he's just got off a taxi driver.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he did look like that.
Looks just like Travis Bickle.
Yeah. But I love that fact that they're like, you look like a pretty humble guy. And, throughout the film, they kind of have portrayed him as that, even though he's got shadier elements to him. And then when he does the cop bit, he really does pull it off and you're seeing him in his more serious roles. And I think, that really works well in this movie to showcase how much range De Niro has. He does a really good job with that. So, yeah, I like that a lot. All right, so on a scale of 0 to 10 ABC dating initiatives on the computer.
Which, by the way, before we give ratings, what a trusting time.
Yeah.
Just
show up
I'm here for my date. Who the hell are you?
Yeah.
I'm here for my date.
Let him in, use the phone.
Kicks your fucking Cracker Jack all over the place.
Who knows? You might have your giant pink vibrator laying out and around,
what's funny, too, is that, the porn producer, Joe Banner, he was drinking a Canada Dry in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very classy.
Yeah.
But, what a time. She's like, what? And then, she's like, asked her, it's been a mix-up. And she's like, well, I still want to fuck you. So I want to, and not get the hell out of my house
right.
or anything.
Right, yeah. Or
Just
wait,
like
I know,
just
yeah.
like yeah, you got tickets? What are we going? What are we going to see? Yeah, Porky and Bess. All right, let's go. Yeah.
Yep. Hilarious. All right, so what would you give Hi Mom?
I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's really funny. I do think it's funny. I do think I'm sad that like it's not like a well-known film because it is really enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. I think we talked a lot about like how good the laughs are and how like, funny it is. I think though overall, even at 86 minutes, the film with its disjointedness and tackling of a billion different ideas that aren't like fully fleshed out, it makes for a muddled experience, which makes sense. It's like its third film. So, but at the same time, it is hilarious. I laughed my ass off. I wasn't sitting there just like sniggering, like going, "Ugh." Thought it was hilarious. De Niro's absolutely fantastic in this. It's really good. And 7.5 out of 10. Check it out. I think it's really funny. And I'd be interested to see what people think. Like I said earlier, though, I think it will be a film you're either going to like or you're not going to. I don't really think there's an in-between with this because it's so chaotic.
Yeah. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really well-paced for me. I thought that it was an enjoyable movie, even with the vignette part that is sort of like a little bit unfocused. I really enjoyed it. I think that it has some really interesting ideas at play, and though I don't know that De Palma really fleshed them out in a way that I think makes him, super evident, I think that just the whole thinking about this movie and the way that this area of time was so iconic in the ways that it has proliferated throughout society, I think is really a distillation of what Hi Mom is about. It's about kind of all of those things of this really very specific era. Again, it's complicated, it's very funny. I think it is some of De Niro's funniest work, and again, if you like this kind of comedy and you can kind of get behind what De Palma is doing here, I think you'll really enjoy it. But again, I do agree. I think it's for a certain audience. I don't know that everybody is going to like this movie. It seems like it is one of those things that is very specific to certain opinions, and I would recommend it, but I'm not sure that everybody will like it. So I'm giving it an 8. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really great experience. I'm excited to check out Greetings as well, which I have not seen. So, I would definitely come back to this movie.
Yeah, you this morning were telling me off air, obviously. You're like, you got to watch this because usually I watch it right before our film, right before the podcast. And he's like, you got to watch it earlier. There's a lot to unpack. And I was like, you're full of shit. Because I was thinking about film from 1970 to early De Palma and De Niro. What the fuck is there gonna be to unpack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot here. I think there's a lot sandwiched within this movie. So, but more than that, it's just extremely funny, at least in my opinion. So, all right. So that does it for our episode on Hi Mom. You can check it out. It's currently out on home video for 4K and Blu-ray by Radiance Films. So check that out. What's up next? What are we doing next?
Patriot.
The Patriot. We're doing July 4th, 250th anniversary celebrations with Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Are we getting him on the show? Is he available?
He probably is.
He probably is. Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll call him up. And
or would you rather do Furio, seeing as we're going to be fighting for gasoline, please?
Yeah.
I love all the Mad Max memes that have been popping up of late of, everyone getting their war rigs ready.
That's right. I've never seen fully The Patriot.
Wow.
I've seen some of it. But I've never seen probably because I didn't have the attention span for a nearly 3-hour movie. And I'm still going to need to find the time for a 3-hour movie for this coming up. So, yeah.
This film, it's a Roland Emmerich film. Because it's a Roland Emmerich film. Is it a good movie? No. It's a guilty pleasure.
Sure.
Like, it's so like horrendously ahistorical and just nonsense of like, why here's Mel Gibson, Mr. Benjamin Martin, and he's just got colored folk on his fields.
I'm actually.
Are they slaves? No, sir. We work for free here in South Carolina. He treats us good.
I'm actually having a hard time believing that the 1998 Godzilla with Matthew Broderick was prior to the Patriot. That is blowing my mind. Actually, I can't even believe that that Godzilla is that fucking old, which means I'm that fucking old, which means Matthew Broderick's that fucking old. You know what I mean?
You want to know why Godzilla 98's horrible?
Why?
Matthew Broderick. He's a horrible actor.
Oh, poor Matthew Broderick.
No, not poor.
Don't you malign Matthew Broderick that way?
No, he killed somebody in Ireland.
This is true. It's true. That meme that you sent me was pretty fucking funny. It's just, you know, if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't get it at all. But it was pretty funny.
Was it the one?
Yeah, it was like where they're like driving along, and it was like when Matthew Broderick in Ireland one night or something like.
I know, but wasn't it like a Clockwork Orange when they're driving?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it's fucking funny. Yeah, it's really funny.
But no, like seriously, Glory is great in spite of Matthew Broderick. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is totally great in spite of that motherfucker.
Wow.
Like, he is worse than Kevin Costner and Bruce Willis. And those are two actors that I loathe because they're boring, bland, and pedantic.
Maligning Matthew Broderick.
Like, he's terrible. I challenge anybody to go out there and say, he's a good actor. Keanu has a thing about him, but Keanu's Keanu, and he carries the Riz. Matthew Broderick does not.
It doesn't have the Riz. That's right. He needs the Keanu Riz. All right, so, but there you have it. The Patriot. Next up.
Imagine Matthew Broderick as Johnny Silverhand in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Hey, V. I killed somebody.
Yes. It's true.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. All right, well, thanks for... Yeah.
Lucky for you, I won't even have to watch The Patriot, because I've seen that fucking movie.
No, lucky for you. You don't have to set 3 hours aside for that.
Yeah, I won't have to watch it. Listen, a film that long, it's fine to have an intermission like halfway through.
It is true. I agree with that.
Get up, stretch, and...
take a break.
Would you rather do a bigger war epic? Well, if it's not American, we can do, Lawrence of Arabia. You got 5 hours you want to set aside?
No, not right now, I don't.
We're like Ben-Hur.
Yeah, Ben-Hur, yep. Yeah. All right, well, tune in for The Patriot next time on Blood and Black Rum Podcast. Sure you'll enjoy. Thanks for listening to our episode on Hi Mom. Hope you enjoyed. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. We're on pretty much any podcast app you can think of. Apple Podcasts, our home base at Spotify, whatever you use, I'm sure we're on it. So subscribe, leave us a nice review. We're on Facebook and Blue Sky. Just search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast. And you can write to us at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you like, what you don't like, and what movies you want us to watch. We also have a Patreon page where you can donate to us. Anything you donate goes back towards beer. So thanks in advance for that. Thanks for listening to us as we go into our, 11th season of the show, I think is coming up here in August. So, yeah, so fun times coming up on an anniversary. Thanks for listening to us. We really appreciate it. And hope you come back next time for our July 4th special. Until then.
Take care.